In this episode, a new off-road Lamborghini, the mental Mercedes-AMG S63, and we have a chat about Tesla's semi-truck. Welcome to episode 146 of the We Are Auto Show. What's up, Mr. Derek?
Mr. Michael Rao, I have a question for you.
Do tell, I have an answer.
You teach a bunch of people how to drive.
I
Do you find that the people that have sports hand-eye coordination or hand-foot coordination or have played sports and have that skill set, are they generally better or worse drivers? Because I would imagine it would probably help.
You imagine correct. From my experience, I would say being a more athletic or street smarter, be able to do stuff with your hands translates much better than being super book smart and able to work on small things or being a professional gamer, things like that.
Right.
From most experience, when, say, you're playing a sport like soccer, right? You're running, you're going to kick the ball, and then while you're running to kick the ball, you're also looking for, like, where you're going to kick the ball to next, and then next, and then next, and then next, and next. That requires a lot of the same, like, neural networks that fire and wire together in the brain to kind of connect that. Because if you're super, like, book smart, and I don't mean that offensively, but, like, if you're just really, really smart and not really been athletic or played any sports or done anything like that, then typically you're really good at being, like, laser focused on, like, a thing.
Right. One thing.
Yes.
You're very good at that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're the best in the world at it.
Right.
But as you know, when we're driving, you can't just be in one thing. Your hands are doing something different than your feet, which are doing something different than your eyes, all at the same time.
And they're all kind of linked together.
Yeah, they're same, but different, right? As the saying goes. So I have found if you've got the captain of the chess club, there's usually, not always, but usually having a harder time getting started than someone who's played football or they've played lacrosse or hockey or baseball or whatever. Something where you're actively reading the play, so to speak.
And I imagine it would be a very difficult thing to teach because it's...
Yeah, it's very difficult to initially. I mean, you get a hang of it, but it's difficult to take someone who's really good at looking at like one thing really specifically, and they're just like really good at looking at that one thing, and then kind of making them realize that like, yo, there's a car about to pull out from the intersection 4 streets ahead on your left. Meanwhile, they're really good at reading the license plate of the car in front of them. Mm-hmm. That takes some time. And you just got to keep the eyes up further. But we can get into that later.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. You want to talk about some news?
Yeah, let's get into some news, shall we?
Sure.
So we're going to get into some silly news first. Okay?
Great.
And it's a Lamborghini.
Okay.
I know how much you're a fan of the mad, crazy supercar news.
Sure.
Not your favorite, usually, right?
Usually.
It's not a 25 horsepower Subaru.
I don't hate it, but it's just not what most people are actually buying.
Fair. And this next car is definitely not going to be what most people are actually buying because it is a lifted Lamborghini Huracan. It's called the Sterrato.
A lifted Lamborghini Huracan.
Does that remind you of a car that's not a Lamborghini? It's a Porsche that we talked about a few episodes ago.
The Rally Porsche.
Yeah, the 911 Dakar.
That's what it was.
Apparently Lamborghini sees the 911 Dakar and raises it a Sterrato.
Do you think that they collaborated on this?
No.
Because the timings are just impeccable.
They are impeccable, but no.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because Lamborghini has actually teased this since 2019.
Oh, boy.
They've been kind of teasing it and teasing it and teasing it and teasing it. They've taken a sock off, and then they've taken like a scarf off, and then they took just another sock off.
So were they letting it simmer, and then they saw Porsche do it, and they said, next week's the time.
And then I think they went, I'm going to put on some lingerie.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen, Captain.
All right.
So the new Huracan Sterrato, the 2023, it is an off-road version of the Huracan, as we are alluding to if you listen to the episode about the 911 Dakar, or if you've been on the internet, at all in the last 3 weeks. It's the new Huracan Sterrato. It is interesting.
Oh, boy. I already have ideas.
First impressions. Hit me.
It's why? What? Why? This is. Tell me about stats. Tell me about numbers. Tell me about prices, and then I'll give you my opinion. Because my opinion is.
You asked why.
Yes.
The only thing that comes to mind is they were so busy wondering whether they could or not, they never stopped to ask, should they?
No, they didn't.
So, into some stats. It is now officially the slowest Lamborghini Huracan to have ever, of the current lineup. Yay. Okay.
It's a rally car.
Exactly. Who cares?
Okay.
Apparently, it's a bit slower and less powerful than the standard Huracan. It is, apparently, it's a lifted 1.7 inches.
Really?
So, not the full 2 inches that the Porsche is. So, it's not quite as much of a redneck.
It's still a lot.
It is.
For that car, that's a ton.
It is, yes. Now, it does have the coolest thing that has ever fitted to a road car. A functional roof scoop.
Oh, it is functional.
Anytime I see a roof scoop, that's just like boner jam for me.
That's really cool.
A roof scoop for me is just the business. I don't care who you are. If you're a car guy and you have a functional roof scoop, I applaud you. You win life.
That's cool.
I do like that a lot. But this new, less powerful Huracan does develop 601 horsepower, which is 30 horsepower less than the regular Huracan.
Okay.
So it's a lot of horsepower, but it's less than the regular Huracan.
It's obnoxious amount of horsepower. Great.
Yes. It's got 413 torques, pound-feet of torque, which is unchanged from the standard Huracan. It is all-wheel drive, which I would imagine it would make the most sense for being all-wheel drive. It is apparently the last Huracan to be made.
Oh?
Sounds like a send-off, doesn't it?
Oh.
And it's the last Lambo that, at least allegedly, is going to be powered by that beautiful naturally aspirated V10 that we've heard everywhere.
Okay. So this was not why make this. This was why not make this.
I kind of think that's it.
Yeah. This was, it's going to be the last one. We kind of have to make this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Now, before I give you numbers in terms of limitedness and price, or estimated price, I pose you the question. And this is the question about this car and its competitor. What do you take? The Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato or the Porsche 911 Dakar?
That's a good question.
Isn't it?
You know,
And your
my
answer
initial
to that
thoughts,
question is?
probably Porsche.
Me too.
Yeah, well, yes.
Well, not just because I'm a Porsche fan, but I want to know, why do you take the Porsche versus the Lamborghini?
I feel like the Porsche would actually do better off-road than this.
Bingo.
This was never designed to be an off-road car. It's a supercar that should be on sticky tires on a smooth racetrack, and they put weird fender flares and suspension on it to fit a round peg in a square hole.
That is a very good way to put it.
The Porsche, on the other hand, I could see reasonably doing well. The amount of suspension travel they gave it and the way that the car is designed and laid out with the rear engine, I could see it actually doing well. And a lot more fun to drive.
If I could take that a step further, which of these two companies has an actual history in rallying?
Right.
The Porsche. Right? Porsche's rallied 911s before. They've rallied the 959. There's literally a race car driver, Lee Keen. He's dedicated a brand called the Keen Project to build Safari 911s. Like, it's actually a thing.
So this is them doing the send-off, which I actually like. Now that I know that it's the last Huracan, I didn't like the idea of it until I knew it was the last Huracan. But what do you think about it? What do you think about the looks first?
Okay, I wish what they would have done with the front bumper is made it a little bit more upturned so you had a better approach angle and then it's got a decent departure angle for now, but it just seems silly.
They really patchwork stuff onto this thing.
The way you put it, round peg in a square hole or square peg in a round hole, I feel like that's very accurate.
They really patchwork this thing. The headlights don't really make sense where they're at, or the fog lights, I should say. The fender flares are pretty ridiculous for this kind of car. The suspension just looks weird on a Lamborghini. Lamborghinis are supposed to be low slung, very close to the ground, very low CG. This is odd. They raised the whole thing up. It's just weird.
I mean, I'd like to drive it on a loose surface just because why not?
Right.
But in terms of actual what's better of a car doing what it was designed for, I think the 911 Dakar. Not just because I'm a Porsche fan. I just think it would be better in this kind of thing.
I totally agree. What are the rest of the numbers? What are we talking about limited in price?
So it is, according to the article, limited to 900 of them. So
limited,
but not to 10 of them.
Right. The Dakar was 50, if I recall.
I don't remember. It's close to that. But moving on to the price, there's no official price listed, but the estimated price is $270,000, which, again, it competes with the 911. So it's...
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I am not opposed to this. 900 is an interesting number. I think that's about the right number, though.
Just less than 1,000.
Now, I don't know that this will appreciate a ton with that 900 number.
I think it'll hold steady. I think in 50 years it'll appreciate.
Yes.
But like for a quick flip, because in my opinion, you'd be lucky buying this car without like $100,000 dealer markup.
Oh, 200. Yeah. Totally agree with that. It's going to be ridiculous to get your hands on one. But I do think once the Huracan's gone, this becomes more valuable, which it sounds like they're not far off from that.
Agree.
So, what a weird car.
Yeah, and I think we are unanimous here that we would rather have the 911 Dakar than the Huracan Sterrato.
I agree with that, but I still question why both of these cars.
Yeah.
Why take race cars and put them onto rally stuff?
Again,
it's weird.
Both of these cars, the 911 Dakar and the Huracan Sterrato, 99% of the people that buy them will never even let them get driven in the rain, let alone go rallying down a Scandinavian forest.
No way.
That's just the whole point of them.
Right. There will be your 1% that will.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
I salute and commend that 1% of buyers. They're going to use the Sterrato and the Dakar for what the Sterrato and the Dakar are made for. And
heck yeah.
Honestly, I want to see it. I'd love to see it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's the new Huracan Sterrato.
All right, shall we move on?
Yes, let's move on to a Mercedes.
Okay.
So the new Mercedes-AMG, the S63, is coming back.
Really?
But it's coming back as a moniker of the S63 E-Performance. Uh-oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I put that little E in there. What does that tell you?
Electric.
Aha. But
okay.
Good news. It's not full electric.
It's hybrid.
It is plug-in hybrid with a 4-liter twin-turbo V8.
Yes! 4-liter V8.
So they keep the same giant V8.
Okay.
But they just add a battery.
All right.
So there you go.
It's gonna be hefty.
It's gonna be a big bitch.
It's gonna be hefty.
I didn't see any weight listed. It's gonna be one big son of a bitch.
You don't wanna list that weight.
6,000 pounds is my guess.
I would assume you're right.
I'm guessing, honestly, it's got to be close to 6,000 pounds. You know what? Let me actually Google current Mercedes S63 AMG.
I would assume you're pretty darn spot on.
So the 2013, not even the newest, the 2013 curb weight of the S63 AMG was almost 4,800 pounds.
And we're adding
and that
a battery.
was 9 years ago.
We're adding a battery and electric motors. which are the heavy bits.
Yes.
So here we go. 6K incoming. This would be a
Easily
3-ton vehicle.
6,000 pounds.
Okay.
Easily.
Are there any more stats about it?
Yeah, so it's keeping that 4-liter twin-turbo V8, which we love, we adore, right? It's getting the plug-in hybridness. It's going to develop 791 horsepower, which is a lot of horsepowers.
Wow.
And the more wow figure is its torque.
Oh, boy.
1,055 torques.
Why do you need that?
Because, oh my God, you need to restart the Earth. The Earth has stopped spinning. Let me do a burnout in my Mercedes-AMG S63 Performance with my 1,000 torque.
Why would you need that?
Because you don't.
That's so silly.
Because you're a banker and you go to the Mercedes dealer and say, what's the most numbered thing I can get? And they say, well, I have a car that has a torque figure that has 4 digits on it. And you say, yes, that 4 digits is more than 3. I'll take one.
Okay. Wow. So the electric motors just are super torquey. We knew that going in.
Yeah.
But with that torque, you gained weight. So I don't know if the speed will really increase that much.
0 to 60, 3.2 seconds.
Holy moly. That's absurd. That is absurd.
It's huge.
Oh, you get 6 tons going 0 to 60 in low threes? Oh.
You know, it's funny how we go back in our memory and we think that, like, back in the day, if you had, like, a Lamborghini or a Ferrari that did a sub 5 second 0 to 60, that was cooking, baby. Yeah. And now it's like, if it's anywhere in the upper threes, it's like, what a peasant. Why are you not faster?
Here's a luxury Mercedes sedan that's a 4-door just smoking Lamborghinis and Ferraris off the line.
It's going to be ridiculous how
what
quick
the heck?
It's nuts. It's absolutely bonkers. Apparently, the battery pack is situated above or kind of connected to and above the rear axle. Seems weird.
That is a really weird place to put it.
According to Mercedes, they say that that's the best place for handling characteristics, but I don't know about that.
Okay, so here's my thought process there. You have a big V8 in the front, which is a lump of metal that has a lot of mass and weight, right? Mm-hmm. So your weight distribution front axle to rear axle is like 80-20 front to rear, right? And Mercedes is not... They have a race car where they do that, and they manage that good. But if you're going to put the battery, normally you put the battery really low in the car to keep the CG, the center of gravity, super low. But in this case, they got to balance out that lump of metal in the front. So they put it under, the trunk area in the rear axle, right under the seats of the rear seats.
I see what you're saying. That actually makes sense when you describe that, because I wouldn't have thought of it that way.
It's not the best for CG purposes or center of gravity purposes.
But for weight distribution.
Right.
Ah, that makes sense. Apparently this battery is going to have a 13.1 kilowatt hour capacity, which means nothing to me.
13?
Yeah, that's what it says.
That's super small.
It's only going to give you a driving range of 20 miles.
Yeah, no, that's
so the whole point of it is just for acceleration.
What the heck? That's silly.
This whole thing is silly.
Wait, it's plug-in hybrid, right?
Yeah.
So you're not, as far as you know, you're not charging the battery with the vehicle itself.
I think you do have a little bit of regeneration, which I don't understand.
Okay.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Weird. Very weird.
It doesn't make sense to me. Apparently it's all-wheel drive, but yeah.
It's very, very weird. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's big. It's luxurious. It's going to be immensely comfortable and massively powerful.
Do we have a price?
Not officially. We have an estimate.
Okay.
Based upon current S63 AMG prices.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit more than a current S63. We are looking at about $170,000. Almost 200 grand. But I wonder, because it's got a plug-in hybrid, does that qualify it for like tax incentives?
I think so. Yes. but the tax incentive is like no more than 10 grand. So it's still expensive.
Oh, it's not cheap. No, there's not. So you're not going to get $160,000 tax incentive for it. But I wonder if, based upon its curb weight, could you write it off completely for business purposes?
If you're a semi-hauling company, yes.
Because I know there is. I'm not obviously a CPA, so don't take my word for this. But I know I've heard of, like, if it's a vehicle over X amount of pounds, you can write it off, like, total value of the vehicle, which, from my understanding, is why so many entrepreneurs and successful business people have G-Wagons.
Oh, I did not know that.
Because you can write off $250,000
Right.
because it weighs over X amount of pounds.
I did not know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's, again, not a CPA, but that's what I've heard.
This is an interesting vehicle that will never be sold for less than $200,000 with dealer markups.
Well, especially when you actually think about how you're going to spec it, right? You're not going to get a base spec. You're going to big spec. You're going to go with the matte AMG paint. You're going to get the diamond stitching. You're going to get the heated, ventilated, massaging, blowjob giving seats. You're going to get all of the things, right? That's a $200,000 car.
The interior does look amazing.
That looks so comfortable. I want to sleep in that car.
Yeah. It's pure luxury, pure class. And I guess that the buyer of this will be a C-class at a Fortune 500 company or an investment banker.
Correct.
And that's the market. And for some reason, it will be faster than Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Correct.
What the heck?
Like when I was in banking, like all of the investment bankers, like the really successful ones, had S63 AMGs.
That's the go-to.
It's just what you buy.
Blend in. You just blend right in the parking garage.
You hit your sales numbers for the quarter. Well, you need to go get your required S63.
If you don't have a high-end BMW or a high-end Mercedes, what are you doing in banking?
You're fired.
Yep, pretty much.
And that's all I got for the new Mercedes-AMG S63 E Performance.
All right, shall we move on to something a bit wild?
Okay, so 1,000 horsepower four-door saloon that does 3.2 0 to 60 is not wild?
Not wild enough.
Oh, okay. Do tell then.
All right, let me give you some education.
Okay. Educate me.
Tesla did one of their events. Tesla's a very unique company because they have no marketing team, no PR team. All they do is they give their vehicles to YouTubers and let them do social media things. Really weird. It pisses off the press a ton, which is pretty entertaining to watch.
Elon's pretty good at pissing people off.
He's good at that. He does that a lot. But it seems to be working for them. Now, what they did an event on is they did a first delivery of the Tesla Semi.
I've heard they've been doing a Tesla Semi and developing and all this.
They brought out the Tesla Semi, I think, in 2017 in one of their events. So it's been around for a while, but this is the first delivery. And I quote delivery because I'm pretty sure behind the scenes they've already delivered these to companies before.
First proper grand delivery.
This is the first press delivery, from my understanding. So the Tesla Semi was given to Pepsi-Cola Company.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going to show you some pictures of the Semi. These are not actually from the event because the event was very dark and actually had really bad photos. They kind of just rolled it out onto a stage and did the normal light show. Elon talked about it for a little bit, and I'll summarize that for you. But Tesla Semi looks pretty neat from the outside.
It looks
Would you agree?
Like a spaceship.
It does. It is a Tesla, which means it's all EV, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got a couple numbers to talk about.
Okay.
From what I understand, a normal truck can carry up to 80,000 pounds in towing capacity.
Usually somewhere about there, yes.
That's the upper limit that the U.S. will allow you to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For some reason, EV trucks have some law somewhere that you can add 2,000 pounds on top of that. So you can do 82,000 pounds. Okay.
Anything you can do, I can do better? Is that what
Sure,
that is?
I guess. I don't really understand why. Because in theory, you're just tearing up the road more, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand that, but that's the thing. So this truck can carry up to 82,000 pounds while it's towing stuff. Or I shouldn't say towing. What's the right verbiage for that?
Towing. Hauling. Towing.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. The 0 to 60 time in this vehicle is kind of bonkers. Let me give you what a normal semi 0 to 60 would be.
Okay.
If it's unloaded, it's 15 seconds.
That makes sense.
On
It takes them a
average.
while. They're big.
Yes. If this is unloaded, it's 5 seconds.
Jesus.
It's 5 seconds.
Jesus.
It would beat you and my car easily.
That's quick.
That's a semi beating our cars.
That's quick.
That's ridiculous. 0 to 60 with 80,000 pounds, so fully loaded with a normal diesel, is around a minute.
Cool. 0 to 60. Yes.
0 to 60. We'll get there eventually. With this, they clocked it with 81,000 pounds, more than the 80,000 pounds, in 20 seconds.
Jeez, that's quick.
1/3 of the time.
That's quick.
Could you imagine in a drag race being beaten in 1/3 of the time?
That's quick.
That's an insane gap.
That's nuts.
So it has ridiculous numbers. Now we need to talk about what trucks do. Because what do trucks do?
They truck things.
They haul things, right? They do long range hauling.
Yeah, so none of the speed really matters.
It really doesn't matter. No. In theory, all you really care about if you're a trucking company is fuel efficiency and how long the truck can run for between maintenance runs, right?
Yep.
And how long it can continue going.
Correct.
A normal semi, when you fuel it up with around 300 gallons of diesel, you can go 2,000 miles of range.
That's far.
That's absurd.
That's very far.
I think that would get you across the U.S.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that would.
Or just about, yeah.
Right. I think you could go East Coast to West Coast. Very close. The Tesla Semi is 500 miles of range.
That's not even close.
It's a quarter of the range.
That's not even close.
No.
That's not enough.
I don't think so, no.
That's not even close to enough.
No.
If you're maybe only hauling things locally, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're an actual long-range trucking company, not even close.
No. If you're coast to coast of the U.S., this is not the truck for you.
Not even close.
And that's pretty much the gist of what's going on here. Now, you'll notice at the picture that I'm looking at here.
I was going to ask.
What?
Where's he sitting?
In the middle. Center seat. It's like an F1 car. You know? It's like a McLaren F1, you know?
It's something.
Yeah. It's actually maybe faster than that. So, one seat, kind of odd, right? Because I know that trucking companies
Have passengers.
sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they will have passengers. And when you're doing training, usually there's a passenger. So that's kind of interesting.
I don't know how that's going to go.
I don't know either. Musk said that there were about 2,000 total vehicles pre-ordered, total trucks.
Really?
Yes. People suspect it's more like 1,000. He's kind of just fudging numbers up a little bit.
He's just being Musk.
Yeah. On like the Wikipedia article about this truck, it's around 700 to 1,000, somewhere in there.
Many less than 2,000.
That's fine. He's just playing the PR game. That's okay. Pepsi Cola Company was the first company to take delivery of this. Now, if you're that company, I can only imagine that what you're using this for is driving from city A to city B, but they're not 3/4 of the way across the country.
Yeah, so I could see this working if you run a route that is like 3 counties.
Yes.
Right? Like, I know here we have like that we have grocery store called Publix, right? So if you run a route that services 40 Publixes in your, I don't know, I guess West Coast Florida region, that could work.
I think it would be great for a distribution center vehicle.
Exactly. Yeah. So it, not the car bringing it from the head factory to the distribution,
No.
The truck, but the truck going from distribution center to individual outlets.
Yes. Now, the first time this truck was brought to light, Tesla was really touting the full self-driving, the full, I guess one of the holy grails in trucking is to have a convoy of trucks kind of in a row, really close together, because it's drafting. It's NASCAR's drafting, right? You save fuel efficiency. All the trucks are in a line. It's very efficient. There was absolutely no speak of any of that or any full self-driving in this event.
Whew.
That's weird. That's very weird.
What does that tell you?
It could be a couple things. It could be that the tech's not there, right? Which I suspect it's not. Or it could be them changing their marketing plan. I don't know if they have a marketing or PR department, or changing their plan in their head to try to get current truck drivers to be more interested. Because if I was a current truck driver and I saw this and all they touted up there was how it will be full self-driving and get rid of my job, I'd hate it.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah. So they've kind of shifted that language, right? Kind of just got rid of that language completely. And now they're like, this is great at going quick, going up hills, going down hills. They did say one of the cool features, it could pull uphill without a problem. It's got a bazillion torques. I couldn't find the horsepower torque number anywhere. Apparently they haven't released those, but I can imagine it's insane.
Lots.
And when it's going downhill, instead of using the brakes, it's using regenerative braking, and it's actually charging the battery, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you don't have your brake fade problem. So that's a cool, brilliant idea.
I agree.
The odd stuff is no mention of full self-driving, and it's not a long-haul truck. It's a
Not at all.
city-to-city truck within 1 or 2 states of you. That's it.
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine trying to deliver a route from here to Atlanta to Orlando.
No, it's too far.
That's way too far.
It's too far. They did say it will have 900 kilowatt hours in the battery, which is a lot.
So, hold on. Sure, it's a lot, but it's not a lot enough. Because what was the Hummer?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Like 200 or 300 or something like that?
I think so.
Because I remember the Hummer was like 200 or 300 huge, right?
Yes, that was a big battery.
It's a semi. It needs to be like a whole hell of a lot more than that.
900 is the most I've ever heard of, but by a lot. But it should be because it's a semi.
That's the thing.
Apparently, it will charge in their new 1,000-volt architecture, which normally cars are going between 200 to 500 volts, somewhere in there. They're doing like 1,000 to 2,000 is what they're trying to push into this, which is a lot of energy. And you have to start getting into weird cooling situations when you're pushing that much energy into a battery because you heat the battery up a lot.
Makes sense.
And actually, the cable that's going to be plugging into the truck will be water cooled, from what they're saying. So it's like active cooling will be there. It's that much energy. Apparently, those, in theory, chargers, they don't actually exist yet. In theory, chargers will get you 80% charge in 30 minutes, which is kind of the standard that everybody's trying to achieve in the EV industry.
Yeah.
It's an interesting truck. It feels like it's not done.
I agree. Feels like this is not ready.
If it had full self-driving and maybe 1,500 miles of range or 1,000 miles of range, it would feel ready. This feels like they're bringing it out and still iterating on it a lot.
Yeah, to me, a semi has to be way more than 500 miles range. Like, way more.
You could argue that you're only allowed to, I don't know the exact rule, but you're only allowed to, drive 8, I don't know how many hours.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, there's so many hours throughout the day that you can drive as a semi-truck driver.
But then you're required to take a break, but then you can keep going.
Right.
Without having to stop for gas.
And that's the whole idea of having a passenger, is so that you can keep on transitioning the shifts and keep on going. This has no passenger. Weird. But you're never going to get into the situation where you're driving it 24/7 anyway, because it won't have the range. You could only drive this at max, if you're going 80 and you only have 500 miles of range, like 6-7 hours. So like, I don't know.
Not enough.
Yeah.
It's quick. Yep, I'll give it that. It's not ready.
I will say, first EV semi I've seen that's pushing the limit and kind of there. It's not there, but it's kind of there. And that's what Tesla does well, right? They push the limit.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it's like there-ish.
Mm-hmm.
It's
but
there-ish.
If you think about their mission, all they're trying to do is push the industry that direction, and they're doing that. This does that. Peterbilt right now is sitting there like, well, it's not there yet, but I can imagine in 5 years, that thing's going to be a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be in trouble.
Could be.
So
we're going to find out what happens, and good luck to PepsiCo.
Yeah. What an interesting vehicle.
Very much so. So any other news for us?
I do not.
All right, so that's going to then wrap us up for episode 146. Thanks so much for watching and listening. If you are watching on YouTube, please do leave a thumbs up and then drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the new Tesla semi-truck, if you think it's quite there or not. Don't forget, hit subscribe while you're there. And if you're listening on audio only, please do leave us a 5-star rating and review on your platform of choice, your Apples and Spotify's and all that. Don't forget, follow us on social. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is WeAreAuto_. YouTube is We Are Auto. And our website is weareauto.io, which you really should go and check out now that racing is pretty much wrapped up for the year. Go catch some of your favorite past races. So again, thanks so much. Catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.